Thank you very much. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting convened at 7:12 p.m. If you all would join me standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Let the record reflect that all 5 board members are present this evening. I'd like to welcome all of our guests. We have a lot of guests that we're very excited to hear from this evening, so welcome to you all. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Merkley and Ms. Borg. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is adopted 5-0. Before we move on with the rest of the board meeting, I would like to read a statement. Dear members of the public and Glendora Unified staff, at our last board meeting on October 26, 2020, an individual claimed during public comments that a lawsuit is pending in Ventura County against the Oxnard Union High School District, Dr. De Leon, and another school administrator. However, he did not inform you that Dr. De Leon and the other school administrator had already been dismissed from the lawsuit by the judge. In other words, no lawsuit is pending against Dr. De Leon or the other school administrator. Furthermore, the court order of dismissal is a matter of public record that was available on the Ventura Court's website nearly a month before our October 26th board meeting. It should also be noted that naming a school superintendent as a party in a lawsuit is a common occurrence, and the allegation in a plaintiff's complaint are just that, allegations, and should not be misconstrued as facts against the school district or Dr. De Leon. We'll now move on to, I beg your pardon, I've got a lot of folders. Too many folders. I beg your pardon. We now move on to report of action taken in closed session. I am pleased to announce that the Board of Education in closed session has appointed Mr. Jeffrey Weinstein to be the new Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. His employment will begin December 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2024 with the same annual salary as the other assistant superintendents. The roll call vote was unanimous with all board members present. We'd like to welcome Mr. Jeffrey Weinstein to come up and introduce himself to the board and welcome him to Glendora Unified School District.
President of the Board, Trustees, thank you. President of the Board, Trustees, Dr. De Leon, administrators and guests, thank you very much for making me a part of the Glendora Unified School District family. I am looking forward to the next 3 years, working diligently to make the educational process the best it can be here at Glendora Unified School District. I've been a CBO and in business services, as well as a superintendent and a teacher and a credentialed administrator for many, many years. And I know that partnering with my other assistant superintendents in the cabinet, we can do a great job and make everything happen well, even in this pandemic that we're having. I just want to thank everybody for their confidence and inviting me to be part of the family.
Thank you very much. We look forward to having you. All right, we're now going to move on to our recognition section, and I will ask Dr. De Leon to tell us about our recognitions this evening.
Oh yes, let me turn this on. So tonight we are recognizing our Red Ribbon Week poster contest winners. And I first of all want to thank all of the folks in our community and all of our various community groups who judged for us. And at this time, I'm going to call on Dr. Kelson to give you all the details about our winners and the contest. Dr. Kelson. This is exciting stuff.
Good evening, trustees, Dr. DeLeon, cabinet, colleagues, and esteemed community members. I am Virginia Kelson, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, and I'm here tonight with one of the delights of my job, which is recognizing students for their various skills, talents, gifts. So on behalf of our team, I would like to invite our Red Ribbon Week poster contest winners in. There are 11 of them. They're going to come in and line up around the room. We will be presenting them with a certificate of recognition from the trustees, and thank you for presenting that, giving that to them, as well as a small token of our appreciation funded by a grant that I would also like to recognize Mrs. Melissa Gurman for writing on behalf of the district. So we'll bring the students in, and I think it would be great if we could, I hear the applause as they come in. Yay. We'll sort of line up around the room, ladies and gentlemen. Hello.
Oh, this is my favorite thing ever. This is why we do it.
And some can go around that side too.
Well, their families are here. Mr. Lopez, you are good with the little ones. That's awesome.
Okay. All right. So I'd like to read, here's the process, everyone. I'd like to read the names of the student winners and the grade that they represent. And as challenging as it is, if you could hold your applause, we will, one by one as the students come up.
That's impossible.
After I read all of the names, we will group the students in 4 different groups so that we maintain safe space and social distancing while we're here. So first, if you will allow me to read the names. Representing the preschool, Michael Dillman. Representing TK and K, McCaden Quach. Representing first grade, Graydon Sunetta. Second grade, Dylan Prakash. Third grade, Cheryl Wang. Fourth grade, Mackenzie Quach. Fifth grade, Alice Yu. Sixth grade, Jaden Ramirez. Seventh grade, Lila Shin. Eighth grade, Nicole Gutierrez. And 10th grade, Andrea Yu. Let's give it up for each. And the contest was judged anonymously by a number of community leaders who volunteer their time each year to review the posters. The entries were phenomenal, every single one. And for our students to have the opportunity to demonstrate their creativity, to think about healthy choices and the value of making them, especially during these challenging times when we're all home looking for some positive, creative things to do, was definitely a wonderful thing to see the response and support from our community. So if I may, I would like to call the students up in order by level. So first is TK, K, and 1. If we could have Michael, McCaden, and Graydon come on up and stand. Dr. Summers is right here. Good. Hello. I'm going to use that right here.
Yeah, right here.
Right there.
In small groups.
And Liz, on behalf of our preschooler, who is well past his bedtime. Thank you, Ms. Simpson. That's for Michael.
Okay, can you turn around and face me?
And
Look at her. Look at her. There you go.
Look at me. I know.
And look at you.
Show me the poster.
That's
Oh, you know what, let him show us the poster. Okay, all right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's try that again with the poster showing.
You tell us
1, 2, 3.
And Dr. Summers, could we invite Dr. DeLeon and Trustee Reuter in?
Let me see that. Let me see.
For you.
Oh, that's a beautiful, beautiful. Good job.
Okay, ready? This time with the.
Excellent.
Okay,
Look at that.
one more
Oh,
time. One more time, Dr. D. There you go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Awesome, good job. Okay.
So you guys.
Yay, and next, if we could have second grade, third grade, and fourth grade come up. So we'll go Dylan, Cheryl, and Mackenzie.
Perfect. Turn this
All right,
way.
turn your
Show me
poster out so everybody can
posters.
see. There you go.
Show me your posters. Good. 1, 2.
Incredible.
Beautiful.
And Dylan,
Now
your
we're gonna do
certificate.
things.
And Cheryl, where's your certificate? And Mackenzie. There you go. And Dr. DeLeon and President Reuter, if you would like to come on in. Your hands are gonna be so full. Okay.
Let me see. I do want to see these fabulous, fabulous posters. Let me see. Oh, wow, that's, oh, look at the color. Amazing.
Ready, Dr. Dilly? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Great job, everybody.
Our next group is 5th, 6th, and 7th grades. Alice, Jaden, and Lila, please come on up. Yay. You're welcome. Congratulations. You're welcome. And you're Lila. Thank you for correcting me. There you go. You're welcome, Dr. Summers.
Okay, this way. 1, 2, 3. Good. Ladies.
Okay.
So
Wow.
pretty.
Look at all of these. Wonderful. Okay, we'll do, yep, go ahead.
Do you have another hand for this?
A pinky, there you go.
And Leela, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right, smile big under your mask. Got to be super big for them to see our smiles under our mask.
1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you. And that is Leela Shin, by the way. Thank you, Leela, for your help. And last but not least, could I have Nicole representing 8th grade and Andrea representing 10th? Come on up. Yay. Okay, so you're Nicole. Congratulations. Well, you are very creative and you earned this, so thank you. Okay,
your
photos.
posters and your certificate. Excellent. And now we'll have our board president and superintendent come over.
Oh, that's wonderful. Look at these.
Oh,
So
love it.
creative. I love it.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Okay,
Yay.
congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. DeLeon. Trustees, that concludes our student recognition for this evening.
Yes. And I know the board has comments.
Thank you, wonderful families, for bringing your students, for helping them get involved and express their creativity. You're welcome to stay. We really appreciate you coming out, and we wish you a wonderful evening.
Before you all exit, I just want to make sure any board members have any comments to our students and families with us this evening.
I would just like to say that you all are the reasons that we're here. And it's really wonderful to see you out here and to see that school is making its way through, even through all these impossible times. Thanks for coming and congratulations.
Congratulations.
On behalf of the whole board, we do want to thank all of our students with their amazing creativity and their families that are supporting them right now. It's such a pleasure to see these smiling faces and recognize everybody for their achievements and their accomplishments. Thank you all so much for coming and participating in the Red Ribbon Week poster contest. Thank you all.
So we got 2 more cards, one for student.
You guys just all know. I think maybe they did. Yeah, or did.
Because I've responded to him before, so I don't know what he's asking this time. Yeah, he's the one that says we shouldn't do it. Mr. Roth. I would. Let me look up the email.
Okay, it's going to be a very tough act to follow.
Yeah.
After all those wonderful students. Yes, up next we've got our student board members report, and we've got Ms. Bashir here this evening.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. De Leon and esteemed members of the school board. Tonight, I will be giving a student board members report on Glendora High School. Our first in-person senior event took place on November 4th called the Walk Before the Walk. This event allowed for seniors to come on campus to order their caps, gowns, and other class of 2021 merchandise and take pictures with the balloon backdrop. The number of students in an area at a time was closely regulated and social distancing was maintained. We were so happy to see so many of our awesome seniors. Mrs. Fallon's 4th period class was chosen for our most recent snack attack. They won a Del Taco lunch, which they received drive-through style at GHS. APU hosted an on-the-spot event where 50 Tartan seniors were admitted for undergraduate studies on the spot. We are so proud of our Tartan seniors who were admitted to APU. And thank you to Ms. Ashley and our other counseling staff for making this possible for our students. Athletics and performing arts have continued their practices and rehearsals seamlessly and safely, and almost 600 Tartans are able to participate in these awesome activities. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
So, Ms. Bashir, I do want to mention to you, I can keep moving if you like, but I have been remiss. Usually you're sitting up here on the dais with us. Because you're not right here with us, I have neglected to call on you when it comes to any of our school presentations, any of the presentations that staff or teachers, anybody gives, and then I ask if there is board member public or questions or comments. I should have been including you the entire time. So I will, I've got notes in my notes here to do so moving forward. And if there's ever any comments, questions, or feedback that you have on any of the presentations that are given, we really like to hear from you. Ms. Jamison as well when she returns, but it's really important that we get a student's perspective on any of the presentations. So my apologies. It's getting used to this new layout that we're in, but I'll invite you up for any comment or questions, so you can expect that in the future. Thank you. All right, moving right along to our superintendent's report this evening.
Trustee Reuter, board. I have decided to defer my time to our staff report because it is amazing, and I really just can't wait to see our principals present with their teachers tonight. So I'm really excited for that. So if you don't mind, if we can move straight in to our staff report. So Dr. Kelson, would you do us the great favor of introducing our TK2 reopening plan?
Thank you, Dr. De Leon, trustees, community. We have this evening a number of people here in the audience who would like to share with you some information. I would like to invite our principals serving the elementary schools to come up to the podium. I believe, Dr. Bonner, you're starting this evening, and I think it's okay to clap for them. It's great of them to be here.
Hello, Dr. Bonner.
Good evening.
How are
I'm okay to
you?
remove this while I'm here, correct?
Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you.
We're all smiling.
She's ready.
I can see the crinkles. So President Reuter, board members, Dr. De Leon, and cabinet members, thank you for having us here tonight. I, Cheryl Bonner from Cullen, am joined by Mrs. Karen A. Savito from Sutherland, Mr. Steve Bishop from Sellers, Dr. Sarah Naharo from Stanton, and Dr. Marie Porcel from Lefetra. Additionally, we are each joined by teachers from each of our sites, and you'll see them around the perimeter.
Yay.
I had to point that out, the obvious. Thank you for giving us time to share our thoughts on a return to school. The majority of our presentation will cover the plan for bringing back our TK students on the waiver. However, we will touch upon what we have done thus far. We believe that this plan is what is best in bringing back Glendora's youngest students, staff, and families when the waiver is approved. What you are going to hear was developed with teacher input focused on safety and consistency in delivery of instruction.
Hello, Principal Acevedo.
Good
How are
evening.
you?
Good
How you
evening.
feeling? You okay?
I'm standing.
She had a, little
I
accident.
had a little fall.
Little fall, so.
Goodness, if I might, I'm sorry, before you get started, we'd love because the camera can only see this half of the room, and while I won't ask you all to parade in front of the camera unless you like, I'd ask each principal to introduce the staff that is here with them this evening for the benefit of the viewing public, TV land that way. So as you make your presentations, I'd appreciate just to acknowledge and recognize the teachers that came along with you this evening as you come through. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to recognize the teachers that are here. We have with us Dr. Barbara Warshaw,
Yay!
Larissa Zaccardi,
Yay!
Kelly Haynes,
Yay!
Lisa Long.
Yay!
Did I miss anyone? I think I got Sutherland.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So it is my privilege to talk about what we are currently doing. So currently, we are in phase 2 of our return with students, and all of our elementary schools have students that have returned. It's our most intensive needs students that were previously identified, with the exception of Lefetra, and their students are returning on November 30th. And we have one more class that's returning with us to Cullen on November 16th. So that all happened on October 19th, and it was super exciting. Our instructional model for those classrooms has been in class with online happening at the same time. And we have had students there Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, with Wednesday wellness as a day that we are doing some intensive cleaning. Please. Our next phase is phase 3. This will bring back 25% of our students that have high needs. It's our RSP, English learners, foster and homeless, and our at-risk students. And as we looked at a plan to bring these students back, we were running into some concerns, and some of them being, how would we bring them back and not have the cross cohorting of our groups? How would we group them if it's all these individual students during the day? What is that doing to our general education time? How is that affecting the students? How is that going to change our music and PE schedules, which were not easy to put in place? What do the support services look like as the students are going in for those support services in the different areas? And then what does it look like with our aides? So what we are proposing is that we make this an afternoon program instead of during our academic time during the day. There are a lot of things that we have to put in place to make this happen as well. We have to determine who would be the staff teaching those classes, what the classes would look like with, hopefully we would have EL instruction, time for work completion, study skills, but also some of that time to help students almost reacclimate so that they have that social part of the day that they're missing right now because they're not together. We would also need to design the program. We need to find out who would be coming, which of our families would have students returning. And then also, what does the cleaning schedule look like? What is all of the needs for that as well? And so that's where we are with our Phase 3 program, or looking at Phase 3. And then this is our proposal for our TK waiver. We all elementary schools submitted TK waiver on October 7th with the county, and we're still waiting to see what that will look like. We haven't heard back yet, but we are anticipating that could be at any time. It may be later than sooner, but we don't know that. So we have come up with a plan that we hope that everyone will consider. We would like to have a return of our TKK students, our youngest group of kids, the week of January 4th, so that we can get through the holidays and all of those things. We also are a little concerned about what it's going to be like to bring our TKK students back because they have not ever been on campus before. So that's going to be quite different, quite a challenge for us. So we are really trying to prepare for that. We would like to have our first and second grade students return the following week, and that will give us some time to lead up for our TKK students. We would like to use the hybrid model of AA-BB with the Wednesday wellness continuing, also for the safety factor so that we can do the intensive cleaning and we're making sure that all of our staff and our students are safe. And you can see that we have surveyed our staffs, and the majority of our staff would really prefer if we could start in January.
Thank you, Principal Zito.
All right, good evening. I'm Steve Bishop, principal at Sellers, and with me I have Mrs. Beth Osborne. I almost said, hey, Mrs. Beth Osborne, one of our kindergarten teachers, and another kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Cindy Dunaway. Thank you for coming. So this slide's talking about what we have been doing, because we're talking about a lot of things that we need to do, but what have we been doing? So as you know, with COVID, the landscape changes daily. And so there's been a lot of things that have gone on. And at our sites, we've been focused on the preparations for opening the school year. First, we were focused before summer in coming back in a direct hybrid. But within a few weeks before the start of school, with the health department planned, moved to a complete distance learning. So with that, we worked very hard on the protocols and implementations of remote learning. We worked on helping families get devices, get connected, and that continues to be something we're working on. I know all the schools have been continuing to change out Chromebooks that are having problems and replacing them with newer ones. We've been working on trainings and new technologies and procedures, and the process of returning our intensive needs. So bringing back our first group of intensive needs and all that involved working on that. Teachers have been working hard on the implementation of remote learning, and we've been following up on student engagement. And again, that continues to be something we continue to work on daily, making sure kids are being involved. And we have basically redesigned our entire delivery model of instruction within a few weeks of start. So the next two slides are why wait until January. And so there's a lot of things, a lot of our teachers, a lot of people would want to come back right now, but we know that with these things that we're going to talk about now are some of the reasons why we want to push to January. So our current calendar, November 9th through the 13th, right now teachers are finishing up their first trimester assessments. For our little ones, the TK and the K and the first, that involves individual Zoom meetings, individual assessments using ESGI. Our first and our second grade teachers running records and getting all those together. They're working on report cards, and so next week will be conference week for the elementary. And parent-teacher conference week is a vitally important time, but it's also very time-intensive. Teachers work very late into the evenings, setting up conference times. Of course, this time they're virtually, but still, they're working on all those, and it adds a little bit more. That's leaving Thanksgiving break for classroom prep time and for family. And we want to give our teachers time with their families, and we think that's very important. They are tired, they're working hard, they need to have that. And staff self-care is very important for them, so we will make sure that. Our teachers are in the middle of report cards, conference week coming up, Thanksgiving break. So between Thanksgiving break and winter break, there are 3 weeks, which are 15 school days. Not much time in there. So teachers want to make sure that they are delivering the best instruction possible, consistency in the delivering the instruction. And it takes much more time now for teachers to do their prep digitally. It seems like it might not, but it takes many more hours in there. I know they're all working very hard. Many teachers, like I said, want to come back sooner, but based on logistics and timeline, they would need the time to prepare for a quality education. And if we were to receive the waiver, starting in January, we would allow teachers and staff to prepare to return in January. And I'd like to take a moment right now just to acknowledge the additional time that has been invested by our teachers and the staff in their preparations in their classrooms and teaching digitally.
Yes. Hello. So we've been talking a lot about the different things that we've been doing since we started all of the LRCs and the different committees in the summer. And as my colleagues had mentioned, we really were working on preparing for the hybrid model. And then we were told that's not going to happen. We're going to do distance learning. And what came with that was not just learning how to teach remotely, but learning how to navigate the new learning management system, Canvas, which is a great system, but it is very complex. And so we've had to do a lot of professional development. Teachers have worked many hours into the evening, just trying to figure out how to do that to put the best program together possible. So what we are doing between now and January is continuing that great work. Setting up the technology in the classrooms is going to be important because the way you use Canvas now is going to be different than when they go into the classroom. There are also some teachers are already working with webcams. And we're going to have more teachers that are going to be trying out the webcams, and it might not be what works for them. So we need to give them time to try it, see how that goes, give them time to collaborate on best practices. Of course, we're always training our staff, and we find that our best training comes from our teachers that have already done it. And so we have some teachers that have already come back, and they have been trying it, so they could give us some feedback on that. And coordinating a teacher's move from their home classroom to their campus classroom is a really big deal. They were given laptops just before they went home. And so they're used to using teacher workstations, for example. So now they need to make sure that their laptops are working with all of their programs in their classrooms. And then, of course, planning. Planning is super important. We continue to plan, and every time we plan something new, something else comes up. That's why it's really important to talk to many different stakeholders, our teachers, our classified people in the community, to get different perspectives on things that we had not even considered when we're talking about bringing our TK through second grade students back to campus. So, for example, rostering and grouping of our students. When we're cohorting kids, we want to look at kids that have siblings. We want to look at them hopefully for long-term, the kids that have siblings in other schools, so that the AABB program works for their families. And then notifying parents of schedule and safety protocols is super important. And then planning for the Canvas, distance learning, and in-person instruction. And of course, we have to make sure that our classrooms are ready. So we have a lot of furniture. Our teachers love to work in small groups, and so we know we're not going to be able to do a lot of that. So a lot of that furniture has to come out. We have to space out furniture. We have to get rid of extraneous furniture, figure out where to put it, and really just prepare, make sure all the teachers have the PPE, the kids know how to use it, and everybody's trained and understands how to use it. I'm sorry? Oh, I didn't introduce my wonderful teachers. Sorry. They're hiding. I have Mrs. Bivens, Mrs. Richter, and Mrs. Rodriguez. Thank you for coming. See, now you just messed up my...
Sorry.
No. That's okay. Okay, so in completing our efforts for student return, we know now when you're bringing in one group of students, they have these little dots they line up on, and you can do that when you have 8 or 9 kids, but you can't do that when you have a whole bunch of different kids. So we need to finalize ingress and egress plans, and knowing that students are going to have to come through different areas and then go out those same areas so they're not coming across each other. That also means we need to have pre-screening equipment, temperature checks at different locations. So we have to make sure that we have all of those. And we now have some great thermometers that you don't need to touch or anything, but not enough of them. We know we need to coordinate parent meetings to teach them about the safety protocols and the daily procedures, which might change, so they'll be ongoing. And recognizing that some of our parents are also going to need a little bit of a personal touch to convince them or make them feel more comfortable about sending their kids back to school. So sometimes that means a few more conversations or Zoom meetings. Really important is restructuring our recess schedules and assigning our supervisory roles. Currently, our noon duty aides are doing a lot of different things in order to support teachers and students with distance learning. So we need to bring them back now, teach them how they're supposed to now sanitize equipment and do all these kinds of things so that small pods of students are safe. And then, like I said, marking out furniture in the classrooms, and really important, something we've learned from daycare, is the bathroom protocols. It sounds like such a simple thing, but in between students using the restroom, we need to make sure that we're correctly sanitizing and disinfecting according to what public health is telling us to do, so that we're keeping our kids safe. And then, of course, that means we need to make sure we have adults trained on what that looks like too and ready to go. So you can see that these are a lot of things that we have been considering, but we know we need to put more thought and more time into it so that when we bring our TK through second grade students back, we feel like we have done a thorough job and they are safe. And we've done everything that we could to make sure that they come back safe.
Thank you. Okay, I think I'm good enough. Usually I wear heels. Good evening, and before I start, I'd like to introduce the teachers that I have with me. So I have a few different teachers. I have Diane Colby is here from TK. I have some kindergarten teachers. I have Miss Brower, I have Miss Gorski, I have second grade, I have Lisa Speed, I have Jen Scott, I have Miss Afandler, who teaches TK through second special education. I have third grade, I have Libby Birmingham and Serena Armijo. I have fifth grade, Amy Hogan, and I have my librarian, Julia Kishman. I think I got everybody, right? You got them all. I think I got them all, and they're all here.
I do have to quickly interject, Mrs. Afandler, your Instagram book reading is really something else. I mean, the costumes and everything. I'm sorry.
Say or read if you want her to.
I just, sorry, I needed to interject. Those Instagram posts are really something else. Thank you very much.
So, everyone is here to support each other in this process. So it is really important in this discussion to know what the day is going to look like once our students would return to school. And you may have seen this slide in some other presentations as it's being discussed in our logistics committee meetings with teachers. And this instructional model may vary a little bit from site to site, but what you're going to see in all of these is simultaneous instruction with our in-person students, and which I think is coded as IP on there, and virtual or online students. And this can be done in a variety of ways using Zoom or your webcams, however that might be. But all of these models will incorporate some direct whole group instruction and then small group scaffolding, whether it be with the students that are live in front of the teachers or independent practice at home with the students that are virtual, but all focusing on the same set of standards. This allows teachers the flexibility to make student choices in their students' best interests. But what you will see in all of these models is that no matter what, teachers are planning for two types of modes of instruction, which is our in-person and our online. And the good thing is, many of our teachers have gotten into a pretty good rhythm with their remote learning. And one thing we know they're experts at is face-to-face instruction. So now we just have to put that together in a hybrid model. Hence our next slide. You will see that in order to put them together in a successful hybrid model, We have to go about this in the same way that we would anything else. And that's all about relationships and flexibility. And this model, which we've talked about before, shows your AA group, your Wednesday, and your BB group. And we have Wednesday in there as Wellness Wednesday, and also the opportunity for deep cleaning. But it also, keeping the schedule, which is what we have now, allows for the consistency and the smooth transition in case, God forbid, we would have to go back to remote learning. What you'll also see is similarities in this schedule to our remote learning. So our TK and K students would still have 180 minutes of instruction, some of that simultaneous, some of that independent, except for the students that are in front of them, they'll be live with the teacher the whole time. And first through second would have 230 minutes of instruction. So as we know, there is no guidebook yet as the best way to implement this hybrid model. But with a positive approach to rethinking the way we do things, I know that we can do this. But you know, no matter how you slice it, teaching hybrid is exhausting, and it's a constant balancing act between these two groups, our in-person and our online. But with practice and communication, I know our teachers will be up for the challenge.
And I have with me from Cullen, Mrs. Angie Golden and Mrs. Janice Ahrens, kindergarten and TK teachers. So going back to August, in August, parents either selected distance learning hybrid model or GOAL, our independent study program for the 2020-21 academic year. The belief was that when we returned to hybrid, we would have two groups, A and B, that would alternate days at school and on distance learning. However, hearing that there are parents wishing to have their children remain on distance learning, they will have an opportunity to opt out of hybrid and to continue in GUSD's VLP or virtual learning program. What is important to note is that as it has become more evident the number of parents wanting to stay on distance learning, our teachers have indicated that simultaneously teaching groups A, B, and C has challenges. It may not meet the educational needs of all groups, thus the need for VLP or virtual learning program. This slide shows the variances between GOAL, independent study, and VLP, virtual learning program. In looking at returning, reopening notification letters will be sent to parents. Parents that are not comfortable sending their children back to school may transfer to VLP or virtual learning program, where they would continue on distance learning. This would provide a more optimum learning opportunity for each of the three groups. In closing, we would like to say thank you for your time and for supporting our students, teachers, and school communities in developing a return to school plan that is safe, effective, and engaging.
Thank you so much. That was amazing.
As I feverishly scribble some notes here, I will ask for questions from the board. And I certainly, if there is a teacher that's in attendance this evening that is going to maybe help give the best answer, we would welcome you all up as well. We certainly really want to hear from you all, as you were instrumental in making these choices and figuring out how to implement. And at the end of the day, it's going to be you all that are working with the kids in person and remotely. So if there's a question that a board member asks, we would encourage any teachers that would like to respond, or any principals that have a teacher that they would like to call on to help answer the question, to please do so. All right, that's it. Yeah, the kid in the back that never puts their hand up, it's your turn. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with Ms. Borg as far as questions or comments are concerned.
Okay, I tried to jot down. You guys talk really fast. That's good. Thanks for your work. Number one, teachers. This is amazing, and no one knows better than you what you need in your classrooms. So your part in this planning is to your benefit and your colleagues' benefit. So I would not let anybody give you grief.
Mike, I do have some questions, and I'm going to go page by page here because I wrote things down as I was listening. I understand that there are some faculty members that are not comfortable with the webcams. Can you speak to that?
Well, they haven't used them before, so they need time to get acclimated to those, and we're looking at having our techs that are throughout the district come and work with them and learn how to sync them to their laptops, their document cameras, and their smart boards. And I think it's a matter of some training and then trying it out.
Oh, good, thank you.
Sure. I'm back in class and I have all the things.
All the technology, right?
Technology. One of the issues of the webcam is it comes with a extension cord, which personally I will go behind overhead. Yeah. If I have to run around after two children.
I'm not being rude, I'm writing things down while you tell me.
Be rude if you want. Okay, so having that extension cord is an issue. My laptop currently is on my desk and it looks like it has hair. It's got 6 things plugged into it, one coming from the smart board, one coming from my dock cam, one coming from power. My speakers have to be external, so I can't move that laptop. So I'm stuck to my desk. So even though I've got children in class, I can't move to teach. I'm stuck to my desk. If a behavior happens, which happens all the time in special ed, daily, multiple times, if I move away from my desk and go to deal with that, there's a kid or 3 or 4 online that are staring at a wall. Everybody can hear what's happening in the classroom. It's an issue. We're working through it. We're doing the best that we can, but it's things to be considered.
One of the things that we did to make that successful, and I think this is going to be important and why it takes time till January, is in order to get her set up to work for her, tech came in and worked with her to make it work. And every teacher's classroom is set up just a little bit different. And teachers are using different doc cams or different laptops or different things. So each teacher needs a moment with tech to set it up. That is something that really worked when we did this classroom. And I know that our tech have been going around to the classes that have returned in order to do that and make that work. So that's one of the reasons why we're saying between now and January, we could have that opportunity to set that up for teachers.
I can tell you when they came in to work with me, we worked for almost 2.5 hours, just the 3 of us. There was 2 techs and me. What we were really trying to do was see how we could get simultaneously sharing with the kids on Zoom and sharing with the kids online at the same time. For the week or week and a half prior to me seeing them, I was literally like pressing play on laptop and desktop, trying to get them to be synced up. So eventually I was able to get on my old doc cam, pretty easy, like touch of a button, change between doc cam and screen sharing, but for both people to see it. So it works, but it takes quite a bit of doing. I had to buy an extra cable, there's just things. So, to have that time to figure it out prior to children being in the classroom would have been awesome. So, in help towards my fellow teachers, it would be helpful.
Thank you for your candor.
You're welcome.
Okay, next question. On the phase 3, you're talking about the after-school program, and I'm sorry, you're gonna have to explain that to me again. So students are in class in the morning, and then if they have special needs, they're held after school for some more additional support. Is that?
I will. I think we're currently looking at it in the system that we're in now. So with the students still being in distance learning, it's very difficult to get them
on our school site during their academic day. So looking at getting them on the school site after school.
So it's just the distance learning students that would come in the afternoon, not the kids in class during the day.
Correct. This isn't there's three different ways to bring them back. This would be to target those students that.
Like the BB kids during Monday and Tuesday could come in
Before that. This is only the phase of 3 kids.
Right.
4 through K2.
Right.
And it would be our RSP, our ELP.
Right.
To our regular gen ed
Got
class.
it. Yes. I will 100 million times agree with you that parent-teacher conferences on a normal process that week is time-consuming and crazy. So whatever support you need, man, I think you just have to go for it. But I understand. Get it all the way. I also understand, back to the webcam, that you do have the option, if you don't want to use the webcam in your classroom, you can do something else. Is that true? What would the other thing be? If you don't have the webcam, how are those kids at home going to see what's going on?
It would be through Zoom.
Oh yeah, on the laptops or on the, okay.
Or it doesn't have
So you're literally tied to that laptop to carry it around the room with you, or like you said, we don't teach from a desk. You don't teach from a podium. Especially with little ones, you're moving around, you're on your feet all the time. So, okay.
Even with the extra webcam, even if you were able to take it around with you, you won't be able to see students on the laptop. So
Right.
you have to carry the laptop anyway. So that extra webcam is kind of, at least for me, to use it.
On completing our efforts for student return, the ingress and egress you were talking about, was that sites or classrooms?
That's sites.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you already answered my question about the parents choosing. On your hybrid model, when we, Lord willing, help me understand how the classroom cleaning works. If you're going, is it just the mornings that you just have the kids check in? That's the only time the teacher would be in that classroom on a Wednesday?
Wednesday everyone will be virtual learning, so that deep cleaning can.
So is the teacher though in the classroom while the cleaning's going on, just for those 45 minutes or whatever it is the kids are there?
They may do their check-in from the classroom, but then if they're one that's been teaching on campus, but then someone would go in when the teacher's not there to do the deep cleaning. Most our check-in for elementary is at 8:15 in the morning.
Right.
So there'd be all day then to clean those classrooms.
And how about the thought of re-rostering students? How do you think that's going to go over?
Well, if you are really concerned about your child staying on distance learning, I think what's your best choice? I think it.
Well, for little ones, they get so used to somebody that parents may just choose to stick with the teacher, whatever the teacher's doing, or.
I think the overall driving factor is the best educational opportunities for students, and students are resilient and they can develop relationships with a variety of adults given those opportunities. And so if we want to be able to give them most opportunities for students, that re-rostering allows teachers not to be planning for 3 groups of students, which becomes an overwhelming task and spreads them so thin that they're not giving their best to all of the students.
Oh, here. Yeah.
That's it for me.
Mrs. Merkley.
Let's just say I am in awe. I just cannot imagine what you were doing. I taught for a couple of years before I got married and had kids, and I know how difficult that was, how much work went into that. And I can't imagine doing hybrid, trying to teach online. I've been able to observe one class. she was amazing. The kids were engaged, and she knew it was going on. But I'm just blown away by what you were doing. So with the special ed right now, is it still the cohorts AA, BB? Are they all back in class? They're all back. Well, that is so much better. I was worried about that. I thought, how would you do that?
Well, there are some at home.
You do have some at home.
But there's only, because they're smaller classes.
Uh-huh.
There's not an A and a B. They come Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday,
Mhm.
but then some are also at home, I believe, for all of our campuses. Yeah.
Okay, and that is working okay? Obviously, some of you are tied to the computer struggling. You know, I guess it's like anything else that as you go along, it gets easier. And for TK, once you get that going, they don't know any different. So they'll, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. My grandson is in kindergarten, and he is online, and I see him, I've gone over there, and he's just working, you know, he's got a teacher, and he seems to be doing well. He doesn't know what it's like to be in class. So, you know, again, just thank you so much for all of the hard work. We recognize it. We know that you have just put forth so much effort, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Dr. Fernando.
Thanks for this very detailed plan. I think, you know, I just want to echo how tiring hybrid learning is and hybrid teaching is. Having experience doing it, I don't do it with K through 2, but I do it with college students who sometimes act like K through 2. It's in a very, very labor-intensive, exhausting experience. I can only imagine the type of preparation that you have to do before you walk into a classroom, just the simple things of using PDFs and annotating PDFs and, you know, all that stuff that goes into it. And I think the biggest concern, I think, with this is what you've been expressing is that you're stuck to this camera, right? And that in any teaching, no matter how old the students are, effective teaching doesn't exist with you being stuck to a camera. So just know that we acknowledge that, we appreciate that. Sometimes there's limitations in terms of what we can do. So I think, you know, as I look at this hybrid model plan, if I wasn't aware of hybrid teaching at all, right, and I didn't know anything what that meant, one of the questions that may come to me is this. So you have an AA schedule and a BB schedule. One question that may come to me is, why not do AB, AB? So can you just explain to the public why that may be not a model that you would build?
Effective cleaning and disinfecting. There's just not enough time to do that. If you have the same cohort that's coming on Monday and Tuesday, you're still going to do cleaning, but it's not as significant as that deep cleaning that has to happen between the totally different cohort groups. So it really comes down to that. We don't have the ability to really clean the facilities.
Yeah, so I think one thing that the public doesn't fully understand is the cleaning and the type of clean that needs to be done. So I think as we communicate this out to the public, we need to emphasize that. I mean, that's why we have the Wednesdays. But again, thank you for being here and thank you for your work.
Thank you. My colleagues already asked a lot of the questions that I had, and the presentations were very thorough. So I just want to thank all of the principals for leading this process, all of the teachers, those of you that are here and that aren't here, for participating in this process. I've observed some virtual learning, and as challenging as that can be, I think hybrid's going to be even harder because of the synchronous and asynchronous. And I can't even imagine how you take an already incredibly challenging task and make it even harder. But you're doing this because you value in-person instruction, and you want to be able to offer in-person instruction for those students that really need it as soon as we can give it to them in a safe manner. So I appreciate that. It was very nice to see our students here earlier. It's also really nice to see as many teachers as I see here tonight. I realized recently that we haven't had the opportunity to interact with teachers like we normally do. We don't get to visit classrooms and awards assemblies and music concerts, back to school nights, or anything like that. And we want to hear from you. We know how challenging this is. You have new technology, we have new leadership. Your input is important to us. And so I'm starting to reach out to a lot of the teachers that I know to hear from them, what are the challenges, what's going well, what's difficult. And I'd like to virtually visit all of your sites and to continue to get feedback from as many of you as I can on what's going on. Our students are our first priority, but you are a very close number two. And we are looking out for you and want to hear how everything's going. It's going to be a challenge come January, but we are here to support you in what you need. Please communicate it to us and we'll do our best to with the people and the things that you need to be successful. You're the ones on the ground doing it, so whatever we can do to support, we're happy to do it. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. A majority of my questions have been answered as well. You talked about, and I appreciate understanding at the different sites the support as far as the November return versus the January return. That's great information so that we could understand how each site was feeling. So thank you for putting that information together. What I do wonder is we've got a wonderful representation of the TK2 teachers here this evening, and we've been talking about this TK2 model. You all have grades 3 through 5 at your school as well. So I'd like to hear a little bit about how maybe those grades have also been engaged in this process. Now I realize these kids are going to go first, and that's really important that we work that out. But certainly we're all hoping that the county is going to come in line soon thereafter, or maybe simultaneously if we're waiting towards January, and what we're doing to understand what the 3-5 needs are and how they may differ as far as TK2 is concerned. So anybody that would like to address what we've been talking about with 3-5.
So one of the things that we talked about was when our TK through second grade students come back, in whatever model they come back, then the 3rd through 5th grade students, we would be looking at them, our targeted students. So our SAI kiddos, our EL kiddos, our at Promise students, all of those students to participate in after-school programs like the phase 3 that we had talked about. So we would be able to reach out and support those students also, even though we're not bringing them back during the day like the TK through 2nd.
However, I think once 3-5 would be able to return, because that would be the hope that eventually we can bring TK through 5th back. I know at all of our sites we've been talking to all of our teachers about what's happening with the different groups, the hybrid, and how that would look. And I believe the 3-5 teachers are feeling very similar to our TK through 2nd teachers as far as what is the best way to bring them back in which instructional mode and which hybrid model. So I believe that, I think that might have been the question you were trying to get at.
Trying to make sure
is
they're on board with the plan that you've got going.
Correct. And so they've been included in these discussions, although it would happen with TK 2nd first, that their needs are very similar as far as the intensity of the teaching, synchronous and asynchronous teaching, simultaneous instruction, and the planning that's involved in order to deliver the most effective education.
Good. I certainly just want to make sure I realize that TK2 is the bigger number of teachers as far as census is concerned, and I really appreciate all the input and votes, et cetera, to come to the hybrid model that you all have selected. I don't want to leave those folks out because hopefully they're coming up right behind. Okay, and then my other question had to do with the virtual learning program. And I think it is very relevant that we offer this to our teachers and our families this way. So if I understood you correctly, you have surveyed your teachers to understand their comfort level with returning, and if they are not comfortable with returning, they are given as much priority as possible to be able to stay in full distance learning. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes.
They would be communicating with our assistant superintendent of personnel in that situation.
Okay, so we're trying to accommodate any of their personal preferences that way, and I understand that this is a real numbers game, that we have to see how many families want to be coming back in hybrid, versus taking advantage of the VLP. What I, as Ms. Borg mentioned, is And you had a great answer as far as making the choice, that the instruction is the most important thing. It really was a great answer. But I do want to know, will parents know when they're surveyed about VLP versus hybrid, what their current teacher will be doing? So if my kid's in Mrs. Smith's class and tomorrow morning I get an email asking me to choose VLP versus hybrid, will I know what Mrs. Smith is doing?
Parents will receive a confirmation, a program letter with the ability to opt out into the virtual learning program. We won't be able to give that information until we know.
Right, so challenging as it will be, as you heard our principals say, that connection between an educator and their students is powerful. It's going to be a fluid situation. So we really want to keep our students with the teachers they started the year with, and we'll do everything we can to do that. However, it has to move a bit before we can go back around and say, okay, we have this number of teachers, this number of students requesting hybrid return, and this number of teachers and this number of students requesting virtual learning. So I think this group, I don't ever want to speak for them. I think they would tell you their number one desire is to keep the students connected to the teachers they already have. And we hope and are strategically working to see to it that that will work out. If the selections for the virtual learning program are larger than we anticipate, then we may have to look at a different model that honors that based on feedback from our community.
I'll tell everybody viewing at home that everybody is nodding their head emphatically yes about trying to keep students with their current teachers, just for everybody's information that way. If you're choosing the VLP at this time, are you committing to VLP for the remainder of the school year?
Yes.
Yes, they're all nodding their head yes, that you are choosing. So at the next semester break or whatever the case might be, if you're more comfortable now sending your kid back after spring break, you've made the choice and you're sticking with VLP for the rest of the year.
I think any of those things might also be space dependent, but we need to roster and get classes.
Yeah. I just, there are a lot of people watching, I'm assuming, that will, as parents, have these sort of similar questions. So I'm just, there are no, there's not a right answer here. I'm just trying to clarify for everybody at home.
And trustee Board does have another question.
Connected to that.
Please.
Connected to what Mrs. Reuter said, we haven't mentioned at all about hybrid and COVID cases, because if that happens to happen, are we going back to VLP automatically, the whole class? Or to be honest, the numbers change all the time. The last I heard, it was 1 student per class comes down with it and you're out for 2 weeks. There are many families that are concerned about the bouncing in and out of hybrid, and they would rather just stay in VLP until this whole thing is done. So is that, I mean, besides staying with their favorite teacher or their teacher they're most comfortable with, that's a consideration as well. Because I'm sorry, I'm looking right at the principals, but I would love your input too as teachers out there. You know, how do you feel about having to bounce back and forth and the possibility of it happening?
While they're thinking, that's one of the reasons that we're keeping the schedule the way that it is currently, in case we do have to go back and forth. If we have one class that does need to be quarantined, they're on the same schedule in virtual learning or distance learning as we currently are, as they will be in face-to-face.
But I'm also thinking about the teacher who, if the class has to leave that classroom and she's trying to teach and she's moved all her things back into the classroom, does it all go home with her again, or him or her, not just her? And does that have to come back and forth as well? Yeah. Gosh, God bless you all. But you have so many little things with little kids, you know, that you...
Hopefully 2 weeks won't be too long.
And I know this isn't forever. I mean, even today, the big news story was the vaccine that's looking good, but it's on phase 3, but we don't know when. But I know it's not for forever, but I just might, you know, I was a teacher too, and I know that I moved around and I had stuff, and thank you all.
Did you have any, I'm sorry, did you have any additional comments? You had, yeah.
We were just saying that we pretty much do that now. You take your car and you take your laptop and you take what you need, and we've learned to adapt. It's not the best. We don't like it. We don't, really want to be here very long, but we do what we have to do. Kids are our priority, and we do what we have to do. And we go in the classroom with those kids. If someone gets a COVID and we go back home, they're still my kids.
Absolutely.
And we're all there to do what we need to do, however we need to do it.
Thank you. A triple thank you.
So my final question, I think, is when will families be getting these surveys to start making their choices, where you, I'm assuming, are going to give some sort of explanation of what the hybrid's going to look like, and I would suggest the brutal truth of it as far as that's concerned about what it's going to look like. Are they going to be able to go out and have recess? Are they what it's going to look like that way, and then make their choice? So I'm wondering when the surveys are going to go out to families.
Thank you for asking. The principals and their staff have asked if we could do that after Thanksgiving, knowing that the global spikes in the number of COVID cases and the strong commitment to guide our families with as timely information as we can give them remains at the priority.
Okay, that seems reasonable to me. Does anybody else have any additional comments or questions? I know Dr. De Leon, you would like to make a comment, but I also would like to thank everybody that came out tonight for this presentation. It was really, really important to the board to hear from the individual sites about what they need to best serve their kids. I'm not a teacher. I can't make that decision. I needed you all to tell me how you were going to be able to best serve your classrooms, and appreciate you all coming together. I think it's, well, I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm glad that all 5 schools are on the same page as far as the model that they're choosing. Just in, maybe people have 2 kids at 2 different elementaries. I don't know, but I appreciate you all working together and then being able to support each other that way. So thank you. Thank you for all the hard work that you have already put into it. And thank you for the, I'm afraid, much harder work that's coming as we get ready to open up. And I do want to echo Mr. Ellenson's sentiments that hearing from you is the most important thing as we go through this process. And we encourage you to reach out to the board members. All of our emails are in the, will populate. If you just start to type our name, it'll populate right in your email, the GUSD email. So we don't know if you don't tell us, and we really want to hear from you. So again, thank you to all of our principals. Thank you to all of our teachers who are here present tonight. Thank you to any teachers, all the teachers that may be watching this evening, for the hard work that you're putting into this. I appreciate you all. Dr. De Leon.
Yes, well, first of all, again, I echo what Trustee Reuter says. I want to thank everybody who came out tonight. So I also want to extend a huge thank you, not just to everyone who came out tonight, but to everybody who has been part of this process, because we began hybrid planning in June, if you'll remember, right? And I know many, many, many of you were involved in our Learning Redesign Coalitions, subcommittee after subcommittee. And then we had to abruptly stop, pivot, try to figure out distance learning per the governor. And then now they're slowly starting to rephase back. And it was really, really important for me as superintendent to be able to hear from our teachers every step of the way. Well, and I also want to thank all of the staff who are here tonight, all the principals, also Becky Summers, Dr. Kelson, who led all of those committees and who continue to lead all of this work in logistics and scheduling and planning and all of that. It takes a huge team effort, and I want to thank all of you. I do want to say there is a lot of pressure there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of community pressure to get kids back. And it's because the best place for our kids is in our classrooms. There's no doubt. There is no doubt. That's where we want our kids to be. I know that's where all of you want our kids to be too. But I felt it was really, really important for everyone to be able to listen to our teachers and what our teachers say about what it's going to take for us to come back. Because the reality is that you all are doing the work every day. I'm not. None of our principals are there with you every step of the way, but they're not actually the ones teaching in the classroom and doing the incredible work you've been doing. And now to pivot again, to come now to a different model. It takes time and planning. And I wanted everybody and the community to hear how much work it is to and beginning in June when you started the hybrid planning, you guys need to think of the fact that you actually created an instructional model. That's something that normally takes years in a district. You guys did it beginning in the summer and now over the last few weeks. That shows the power of our teachers. It shows the power of all of our staff as we put our minds together to get this work done for kids. I can tell you I have been 100% impressed from the beginning with this district and our teachers and the response. You know, we had 300 teachers volunteering over the summer when they were on vacation. Our administrators would call us from a cabin somewhere and call into LRC. I remember seeing people on their laptops at the beach going, well, I'm really on vacation. But so this has been a tremendous lift, and all the changes that happen, it's been evolving, things change, we're all learning. I'm learning as superintendent. I'm learning Glendora culture. I'm learning about our teachers. I'm learning about the laws as they change every single day. I mean, it's just been a lot. It's been a lot. But I want you to know that we do really appreciate all of you. I know that not every district brought their teachers together to create these plans, right? But we did, and we're committed to that. And I want you to know how proud I am of you for this presentation tonight, but for all the work you've done all along. I have not forgotten all the work you did all summer, all the work you've done all fall. So I do want to thank all of you, everyone who's contributed. Principals, amazing job with the presentation. They were all a little nervous about presenting, but I told them they were going to be amazing, and they were amazing. But I do want to thank all of you, and do know we will continue the dialogue. Will we make mistakes? Yes, we make mistakes. Sometimes we get something out of order. We purchase webcams, and then we figure it out because we're afraid we won't be able to get them, because of supply chain, right? And all of those kinds of things. And so we're learning as we go, but we are listening and we are adapting, and we do want to know what our teachers say, which is why you're all here tonight. Because I didn't want to present a model, I wanted my teachers and my principals to present a model that you came up with yourselves. So I'm really proud, just extremely proud of all of you and this district and the continuous work that we do, and we'll continue to do it together. We just need to put our heads together. So thank you all so much for your leadership tonight. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Woo! All right, thank you so much. Thank you for coming. You did an amazing job.
All right. Moving along in the agenda this evening, there is no public hearing to take place this evening. We'll be moving into public input next, but before we invite our first guests in for public input, I'd just like to give a little update from the county, frankly. LA County remains in the purple tier. As of last Tuesday, the numbers are updated every Tuesday, so we will get an update tomorrow. LA County's adjusted case rate for a tier assignment is 7.5%. In order to move into the red tier, you must be below 7% for 14 consecutive days before you're allowed to open. Again, currently we're at 7.5%. I spoke with Monica Bankin, who is the education deputy for Catherine Barger's office last week, and I asked her, frankly, what would happen if we just opened our schools? If tomorrow we just said we're going back and we disregarded the public order as far as schools are concerned. And her response was that the Department of Public Health will close us down physically. They will come in and they will close the physical sites down, much like they would a restaurant or any other public institution that is violating a health order. She then said litigation will follow, the kind of litigation where they will make an example of a school district that would open up outside of the state and county orders. And while going through this make an example kind of litigation, GUSD will remain closed by the Department of Public Health, meaning that if LA County does go below those 7% numbers for 14 consecutive days and the county is permitted to open, the school district would remain closed by order of the Department of Public Health as we navigate through the litigative process. And I just wanted to make it clear that we as a board will not put the future opening and return to in-person instruction or the safety and health of our students and teachers at risk. We will not open the district against state and county orders. Unanimously, we will not do that. I did express frustration to Ms. Bankin about the size of LA County and how that's not really fair to Glendora, being judged by the enormous size of LA County, and asked again if our supervisorial districts could be the breakdown, that we could be broken down into 5 different supervisorial districts. She said no. The answer has always been no, that they're not willing to do that. And I was able to get some rationale from the Department of Public Health as to why they're not willing to break LA County into smaller districts. It's because LA County is an extreme commuter county. You've got people that live in one part of LA County that commute clear to the other side of the county. So you've got people that are going to be in low areas that go to high areas and vice versa. That's very frustrating in Glendora because I would say a large percentage of our people live and work in Glendora, specifically here in the school district. So that's very frustrating to me, and I expressed that to Ms. Bankin. And but I do realize that while it's the answer, not the answer that I want, it's not the answer that I agree with, it is the answer from the Department of Public Health. So with that, I'd like to open up the public comment, public input section of our meeting this evening, and we are going to start with students. So I'm asking for Mr. Daniel Hall Macias first, please. While we are finding Mr. Hall Macias, I will remind everyone that public comment is limited to 3 minutes. At the 3-minute mark, Mrs. Wells will hold up a card that signifies that the time is up. If you are not finished giving your comment or question, then we ask that you submit the remainder of your comment or question to the board via our email, bmpc@glendora.k12.ca.us. We do want to hear from you. We just need to make sure that everybody that is asking for public comment tonight has the ability to do so. So,
hi. Oh, sorry.
Welcome.
Welcome. Sorry. Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Leon and esteemed members of the school board. My name is Daniel Halmasias, and I'm a junior at Glendora High School. And I feel there is an issue which I have noted throughout my experience at Glendora High School. And I thought that would be of importance to bring it up to you guys. So while attending Glendora High School, I have noticed a prevalent issue of sexual violence on our campus among students. It is so disheartening that I have to know that my peers are going through such an issue just around all campuses on GUSD. Sorry, sorry, I get like a little nervous. I feel there's like a lack of communication between staff and students on campus about this subject, and I feel that in order to fix the issue, we have to start the discussion. So I feel like in order to fix, sorry, I'm like stumbling. Thank you. I think if there was a way to like open up the conversation by having a more inclusive curriculum on our campuses, there would be less of an issue of sexual violence on our campuses. So I think in order to edit this issue, we have to edit our curriculum and our manner of discussing sexual violence on campus, because I feel like it's a very like controversial issue and it's very like under talked about and underplayed on our campuses. So I think to open up the discussion, I think it's important to start in our health classes and on our campuses by like spreading awareness throughout the campus. And I just would like to thank you all for giving me the time to come and present. So that's it. Thank you.
You did submit your questions and your comment via email, and that's
Yes.
the best way to get a response.
Okay.
So you will be hearing back from the appropriate staff member to engage in this conversation.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
So nice.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
All right, our next student that we're looking for is Natalie Johnson. Natalie Johnson.
Do I need to keep my mask on?
It's up to you. You can step up to here. Whatever your preference.
It's been wiped off, so either way.
It's been
Okay.
sanitized between speakers.
Okay, I'm gonna take it off. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm Natalie and I'm a freshman at GHS. Imagine getting to wake up 10 minutes before school starts every day, going to school in your pajamas every day, only having school until noon, and not having to go in school Wednesdays. It sounds like every kid's dream. Many adults think we would love it, but we don't. I want you to remember your first high school pep rally, homecoming, football game, club meeting, prom, and for my Glendora High School alumni, your first action. These are all things I won't get to experience, things I will never be able to tell my kids about. Sure, I will hopefully experience them for the first time next year. You may say it's just a year I'm missing out on, but it's a year I will never get back. I am drowning in anxiety, feeling worried someone may be watching me on my Zoom call, hoping the teacher won't call on me, and praying I won't have to turn my camera on, and ultimately just afraid and anxious about what my future looks like. Sometimes I wonder if you, the board, felt the feelings each student is feeling right now, if you would still not give maximum effort, or would you start to care? I often feel I'm teaching myself. My Zoom classes consist of the teacher taking attendance and telling us there's an assignment posted on Canvas and we can figure it out. Each one of my classes is only about 20 minutes long and a maximum of 30 minutes. Never have I ever seen so much cheating, and it has never been easier to cheat your way through a class. There's absolutely no teaching or learning happening. I'm not here to ask you to be my fairy godmother and restart this year, and I have no reason to be confident in you letting us go back to school this year. It really doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that we, the students, are struggling and feel disappointed in our school system. No child in America should feel they are not getting an education and feel they need to fight for their education like I am right now. Dr. De Leon, you have completely lost all of my trust. I appreciate you at least showing up to this meeting. I honestly can't imagine the position you are in, but I know for a fact if I had 7,000 students' futures in my hand, I would do absolutely everything in my power to make sure they feel they are getting a good education. You have made me lose all hope and confidence in my school district. You have let me down. I'm begging you to get your you-know-what together. It isn't too late to start fighting for us. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to Elizabeth Birmingham. And it looks like Julia Cushman either wants to come along or to follow. So if you could clarify for Elizabeth Birmingham and Julia Cushman.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Birmingham, and I serve as a representative for Stanton Elementary. And that is the reason that I have been chosen to speak on to both the board and the Glendora community this evening. On behalf of 90% of my site's permanent and non-administrative certificated faculty, I have been asked to present the concerns and questions specifically related to the leadership of both the new superintendent and the current school board. The following are the collective issues of concern, and the use of pronoun we is intended to indicate those I represent. We have come together as educators to voice our concerns. We want to make it clear that these concerns are not due to a reaction of stress brought upon us by adapting to delivering the quality education during the COVID pandemic. They are directly in the response to the environment being created by our current leadership. In the recent months, our community has been presented with a public relations campaign that presents Glendora Unified as a model district for distance/hybrid learning and a safety in the classroom. The community was given the impression that teachers were provided with quality training throughout the summer to navigate the new Canvas LMS. After an outcry from teachers, the district did provide some further training. However, elementary teachers were left to figure out how to make the platform meant for college-age students to work for our young children. Added to those apparent PR efforts are the many district communications through the GSU Gazette, social media, and about timeless actions taken. We educators have felt unprofessional when we asked about district communication by outside entities that we ourselves have not witnessed nor been informed of. When presented with information via email or social media, teachers and staff are updated simultaneously with the community. For example, one concerned and health-compromised teacher first learned about foggers being used in the social media video posted by the district. Upon further inquiry, she was told that foggers would not be used. Finally, and most alarming, is the lack of morale, respect, and fairness in our district is intolerable right now. While we acknowledge that these are very unprecedented times with no roadmap to success, it is very telling when two highly respected and long-term district assistant superintendents have suddenly chosen to seek employment somewhere else in response to the way our superintendent has chosen to navigate. This is highly irregular, as this is a district worthy of alarm and research, not only because these personnel have the closest working relationship with our new superintendent, but also because they are and were the highest admins for two of the most crucial areas related to distance learning, and these challenges related to the pandemic, technology and safety. These two assistant superintendents were deeply admired, appreciated, and trusted. It is well known across the district, employees both certificated and not, that there is a climate of fear and intimidation directly relating to the superintendent's management style. Many teachers have expressed their fear and concerns for our Glendora Teachers Union. GTA has brought those concerns to the board. It was reported back to us by our GTA president that the board...
Thank you very much. We would appreciate if you submit any additional comments to the board in writing. If you would just hang on for one moment, I would like to let everyone know
Here that we have Mr. Spencer Covert, our legal counsel for Glendora Unified School District, in attendance. And I would ask Mr. Covert if he has any legal counsel at this time.
Well, yes, and good evening. Thank you for being here this evening. You know, there is an education code requirement for a uniform complaint process. And both Dr. DeGrazia and Dr. Kelson are named as the investigators in that process to receive complaints. So I think it would be helpful if we could hear whether or not a complaint has been filed so that it can be investigated as that process. Do we have an answer to that?
I would have to speak with my site as I represent for them. So I'd have to defer to my site.
So that decision has not been made as of yet, is that what you're indicating?
I'm unaware of my whole site staff at the moment. I'd have to check in with each one of them. I apologize.
No, you don't need to apologize. That's the process under the education code.
Understand.
For complaints to be brought forward. Anyone can, of course, address the board, but the process for review of those complaints goes to Dr. Telson or Dr.
I would have to look into that for you. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you.
Are we able to finish with the second person going now?
Yes, please.
Okay. It was reported back to us by our GTA president that the board wanted a couple of weeks to make improvements. After concerns were voiced by a parent during the board meeting on October 26, fully aware of teachers' concerns, Mr. Ellenson then expressed his gratitude and full support for Dr. DeLeon, as well as thanking her for following all directions given by the board. He also stated that it was just a small percentage of community members who felt the way expressed by many at the board meetings. This was a catalyst for us to realize that we cannot remain silent. We are here to ask the board to stand behind their certificated staff as well as the community we serve. Our community staff, and most importantly our students, will continue to suffer under the regime unless severe disciplinary action of the superintendent is considered and implemented. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Okay, I have next up Jill Beechler and Viviana Batanti, that there is an order, but that they would like to come, I think, together. This is a parent. I don't know. Do you know? I just don't know if it's a teacher or a parent.
You just call them at the very end.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Jill Beechler, and I've served as a devoted teacher in Glendora for over 20 years. I love this district, and the decision to present here tonight was not made lightly. I'm here as a representative of Sellers Elementary, and will be reading a letter that will be presented in two parts in order to respect the 3-minute time limit. I will be presenting the first part, and my colleague, Viviana Batanti, will be presenting the second part. Dear members of the Glendora School Board, as elected officials of the Glendora community, we are appealing to your role of being responsive to the values, beliefs, and priorities of our school community, which includes students, families, teachers, and district personnel. Due to the wide range of opinions concerning our district, it was suggested that each school meet and draft its own list of concerns. While our original meetings were conducted separately, both classified and certificated staff found that our concerns were similar. As such, it was decided to create a whole staff letter. This letter was thoughtfully discussed and collaboratively written to allow all interested staff members to have a voice. While some members of our staff are also Glendoran parents, great care was taken to ensure that the concerns expressed here are reflective of staff only. The focus of this letter regards the leadership and conduct of Dr. DeLeon, where a lack of honesty, respect, and communication do not align with the values of the Glendora School District and community. Dr. DeLeon has presented information in board meetings and with staff that has been either misleading and lacks truth. For example, the reports from Dr. DeLeon of proper training of Canvas were inaccurate. The lack of technological preparedness, causing weeks of delayed access to curriculum and online tools, was concealed from families, leaving teachers to fend for themselves to fill the void. Dr. DeLeon's representation of the student statements from her Superintendent Student Advisory Council was misleading. I'm now going to pass to my colleague, Viviana Batanti. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Beechler.
Hi, my name is Viviana Batanti, and I am a teacher here at Sellers. I have been teaching for 17 years, 8 of them here in Glendora. I have 3 children that attend Glendora schools, and I am here representing 90% of our Sellers staff. I will continue in our letter where my colleague Jill Beechler left off. And just a reminder that the focus of the letter regards the leadership and the conduct of Dr. De Leon and how it does not align with the values of the Glendora School District and our community. The lack of respect paid to staff by our superintendent has led to low morale, mistrust, and insecurity about our jobs. For example, teacher reprimands and intimidation when a staff member expresses concerns and or differing opinions are causing fear of retaliation if the staff speaks up. The resignation of beloved, longtime, well-respected administrators and an employee within the last 3 months are a result of the discontent caused by the actions of Dr. De Leon. Allegations of mistreatment of staff from her previous district, along with the pending lawsuit in Oxnard, show a pattern of behavior that elicit our mistrust of how we might be treated. Communication has been incomplete and inconsistent. Conflicting information is given to family, staff, and the community, which results in confusion and frustration. For example, responses and follow-through to participating staff in the committee work that was done in the summer were not provided, giving the impression that our committee work was just a show rather than a valued collaboration. The same thing occurred tonight when they spoke. Information about opening schools has been limited and varies depending on the audience she's addressing. Expectations for grades during the distance learning environment have never been clarified, causing inconsistent grading practices throughout the district. New attendance expectations have been given with very little explanation or support. Glendora Unified School District employees are known for our loyalty, hard work, and love for our students, families, and communities. Many of us bought into and were excited by the idea of bringing change to our district. This is evident by the numerous employees who volunteered their time this summer to work on committees and to shoulder the responsibility for the preparation of returning to school in the distance learning environment. When Dr. De Leon came to Glendora, we welcomed her with open arms and open minds, just like we have done with previous superintendents who were new to our district. Instead of working with us, we feel that Dr. De Leon has her own agenda without consideration of the needs and interests of our students, families, and or our staff. At this point, we have lost confidence in Dr. De Leon's leadership and are hoping that you can help to repair this brokenness. Thank you for your time. Each of you will receive a copy of this letter.
Thank you, Mrs. Batanti. I'll ask again if Mr. Covert has any additional legal counsel for the teachers from Sellers.
Well, they are exiting now, but the comments that I made previously about the fact that there is an established complaint procedure to bring concerns forward equally applies to what we heard from these 2 teachers. And in addition, we really don't know why they have not gone to the Glendora Teachers Association, because when you talk about a vote of no confidence that's been alleged, that's a very serious process that requires input from the Teachers Association as the exclusive representative. So the fact that there hasn't been a complaint, I did check beforehand with both Dr. DeGrazia and with Dr. Kelson, and they have not received any complaint from this school.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, he might need a microphone. Is there one with Genesee?
No, I do not have a mic.
Is there one they can move over?
Okay.
Maybe if
Well,
you
next time around, I'll be I'll be glad to do that, and thanks very much.
Okay. Okay, the next set of speaker cards, as I understand them, will be asking for Lisa Emke and Colleen Johnston that seem to want to come together. Stanton. Stanton? We're gonna run in. Hi, Mrs. Emke. Before you get started, I have 2 speaker cards from you. Was it you wanted to speak 2 separate times, or you just somehow submitted 2 cards?
Somehow submitted 2 cards.
Thank you very much. Please go right ahead.
Okay. My name is Lisa Emke. My husband, myself, and 3 children have all attended Glendora schools. When I was asked to read this letter, written by an amazing group of teachers, there was no way I could decline. Dear members of the board, what has been happening in our school district has become a concern to many of our Sandburg and Goddard staff, and we have been advised to come together to express our profound concerns to you. We are requesting that you, our representatives, listen and respond to these concerns. Late in the spring, we anticipated with excitement the arrival of our new superintendent and welcomed her with open arms. We were excited about the future of our district and the possibility of making it even more stellar than it already was. However, since taking her position, Dr. DeLeon's contributions to our district have resulted in some very detrimental consequences. Over the past few months, it has become evident that the superintendent is creating an unhealthy work environment at GUSD. The leadership and conduct of Dr. DeLeon is our most significant concern. Below is a list of our major concerns. Dr. DeLeon has presented information in board meetings with staff and that has been either misleading and/or lacks truth. This creates dishonesty and lack of transparency. Communication has been insufficient, confusing, and scattered. Different information is given to families and staff and the community, which causes confusion and frustration. For example, it was communicated that the teachers had rigorous and extensive training in Canvas all summer, which was false. Parents were given a false sense of confidence and security in our knowledge of the platform. We did, however, rise to the occasion, but not without consequence in our health and emotional well-being. The fact is, we were offered to independently train ourselves during our vacation time only a couple of weeks before school started. We only had 3 professional development days prior to school opening to prepare digital lessons, plan, and train. Only 1 day, 3 hours, was training specifically for Canvas. The decision to make such a significant change to our learning platform in a time of crisis is more than questionable. Specifically, some special education teachers learned about Phase 1 return during the board meeting when it was announced by Dr. DeLeon. There was no prior communication about a definite return date. Some teachers learned about the return from the bus company when they were called to set up the schedule for students to be picked up. It was communicated to parents at a board meeting by Dr. DeLeon that assessments had begun with some of the students who had special needs. This information was false. Special education teachers were not even close to beginning assessments, and they are still waiting answers to concerns they had months ago. The remainder of the letter will be read by Colleen.
As presented at the last board meeting, Dr. DeLeon is involved in a pending and very active lawsuit for some questionable behavior and decisions. We have no idea if you, the board, knew of her background or if this information was withheld during the recruitment process. This information was requested, but we still have not heard an answer. We are still waiting. These accusations and behaviors are significant, as this information only solidified a distinct pattern of behavior, which is becoming evident by the treatment of many of our own staff members. For examples, teachers and staff have been spoken up about concerns, asked clarifying questions, or offered alternate solutions, have been singled out, indirectly warned, and threatened, both verbally and in writing. This has been done not only by Dr. DeLeon, but by some board members sitting in front of us today. The intimidation is causing teachers to work in fear, and they have become afraid to advocate for their students and themselves. That is why myself, Colleen Johnston, and Lisa Emke are speaking on their behalf tonight. The morale among staff members have never been lower. The burnout is real, as the amount of work they are putting in is only resulting in negative treatment from our leadership. We have lost valuable district administrators and staff to other school districts in the span of 30 days due to the unhealthy work environment.
We are sure that we will lose more amazing GUSD staff members if this continues. As employees of this district, we are committed to our students, families, and community. As elected officials by members of this community, it is your role and responsibility to uphold the values, beliefs, and priorities of our community. We need a superintendent and all school board members to be professional, respectful, honest, trustworthy, and create an environment that promotes positive growth. It is your duty and responsibility to establish an effective environment, to provide support, and to ensure accountability. We expect you to abide by the oath you took and provide the community the leadership you were elected for. Of the staff that responded to a survey, 100% of respondents at Goddard and 87% at Sandburg voiced their agreement with this letter. It's my pleasure to speak on their behalf tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnston. I will again ask Mr. Coburn if he has any comments on legal counsel at this time.
Good evening, members of the board and members of the audience as well, both here and virtually. Let me begin by saying that the uniform complaint procedure applies to both members of the public as well as employees. My understanding is that the two individuals who spoke previously are not your employees, but are members of the public, as I understand it. And they, of course, have the right to speak here. They also have the right to file a complaint that will be investigated through the district. There was also some information that was incorrect and is previously stated, but I think it bears stating again because it was brought to the board's attention that the lawsuit that had been filed up in Ventura County was dismissed by the judge on September 29th, which is, of course, a long time ago. People who are concerned about that would have that information available to them as a matter of public record. What's also important, I think, is to put this in context, is that it is quite common when a public school district in California is named as a defendant in a lawsuit to also name its chief executive officer. But those lawsuits are subject to scrutiny by the court. As you all know, allegations are just that. They're allegations. They aren't truth. That's why we have trials. But before we get to trials, oftentimes in California, the court will review the complaint, determine whether or not the allegations are meritorious as to the individuals who were named. And in this case, the lawsuit was dismissed as to both school administrators, including Dr. De Leon, on September 29th. And I think that should be an important factor stated in the record as well. Thank you for the opportunity.
Then
We have not asked anybody yet if they have if this is official from GTA or not.
As we move on to the, as we move on in public comment, the next speaker card I have here is Heidi Taggart. Heidi Taggart.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm freezing. I am just here to present some facts. As we've embarked on this journey as parents, educators, members of the community, we care nothing but about our children and the children of the community. So here are some facts. Superintendent De Leon took over Oxnard Union High School District in May of 2016. Under her tenure, Oxnard Union English state test scores declined 10%. Under her tenure, the math state test scores declined overall 2%. Under her tenure, Adolfo Camarillo High School was placed on probation in May of 2019. Also under her tenure, Director of Special Education, Dr. Victoria Ruffin, hired August 29th, 2018, had complaints against her as early as September of 2018. She received a vote of no confidence letter signed by 125 staff members dated February 14th of 2020. She was subsequently placed on administrative leave February 28th of 2020 and replaced April 29th of 2020. These are the facts. That's all they are. Victoria Ruffin, who was the Director of Special Education in Oxnard Union High School District under De Leon's tenure. There are many statements that have been reiterated here tonight by staff and parents in regards to behavior from staff members. Again, these are the facts. Dr. Victoria Ruffin had a series of in-house complaints from those who worked with her. They led to inappropriate and at times illegal ends in terms of special education. She was accused of creating, first of all, the teachers wrote a letter and a vote of no confidence for Dr. Ruffin. And it said she had an inability to effectively and equitably lead in a professionally run special education department. The letter described an increasingly hostile work environment under Ruffin's leadership, alleging a tendency for her to yell and berate subordinates, the use of threats and intimidation, a lack of equity in staffing, and a tendency toward power and control issues that manifest as both micromanagement and mismanagement. The letter pleaded with the district leaders to review the needs of special education students, this is from the teachers, in Oxnard Union on their individualized education programs, IEPs, stating that many students are owed compensatory services. At her direction, students were not receiving legally mandated services, the letter said. Her lack of knowledge of special education laws relating to service minutes and IEPs had the potential to create lawsuits against the district and teaching staff. Again, these are the complaints, and it shows a pattern of behavior that has been reiterated here tonight. Thank you.
Repeating that had nothing to do, that was not me. So the real confidence and it was not that. That's something completely different.
I think that's very clear from what you said.
Okay. The next public comment, I'm having a hard time with the handwriting, but I believe it's Wendy Zia. Zia or Zaya. I beg the pardon on the pronunciation.
My name is Wendy Zia Jarvie. I'm reading a statement tonight on behalf of a concerned Glendora parent who did not feel comfortable coming forward. The statement reads as this: I would like to express my concerns to the board regarding the work environment that is evolving at Glendora Unified School District. Our school district has become one that is completely unrecognizable to me. Having discussions with people who are using words such as vicious, toxic, hostile, retaliatory, and harassing to describe our administration is absolutely unacceptable. Many years ago, a great man named Dean Karnowski inspired our athletes, our students, and our entire community to be the best. He was a strong, honorable leader who touched so many lives. His legacy will live throughout our community, and we will never forget everything that he has taught us. Several of the staff members at GUSD were part of that era, and I'm certain still utilize some of the life lessons he taught. He was a true example of the type of leadership at GUSD that we are accustomed to. It is very common for employees of GUSD to begin their career here and continue until their retirement. Our district is known to provide an uplifting, positive, supportive, warm, and welcoming environment to all of its employees. They stay due to the incredible leaders who provide encouragement and constant motivation. As a parent, my priority is to support my children to the fullest in all their academic endeavors. However, I also thoroughly support the entire staff at GUSD, and I demand that a positive work environment is provided to them. We as a community will not stand back and watch any more amazing employees leave due to a toxic and hostile work environment. Losing Mr. Jacobson and Mr. Sheldu was so heartbreaking to so many people. Mr. Jacobson touched so many lives during the many years he was here, and his pure dedication to the children was second to none. Mr. Sheldu was highly respected by his peers and was known for his strong work ethic and integrity. The fact that they felt forced to move on to another district is absolutely unacceptable. It is essential that we regain the strong, honorable, uplifting leadership we once had in our district. Penelope De Leon is not the person to lead our staff. They absolutely deserve a better qualified person who continues to inspire and motivate them. I am positive that Penelope De Leon is incapable of providing the sort of environment our staff deserves. In the words of Coach Karnowski, our community will be the best, and we will not stop fighting for our kids and our beloved staff. I have one more sentence. Our town may be small, but we are mighty. We have always shown that when we come together for a common cause, we make great things happen.
The next comment card I have is for Stacy Tarzia. Okay, I'll let the next commenter know.
Hello, my name is Stacy Tarzia, and I am speaking tonight on behalf of our beloved teachers and incredible principals. I used to be a teacher myself up until the day I had my first child. Now I'm a mother of 3, all of them students at Cullen Elementary. Try handling Zoom for a 3rd grader, 1st grader, and kindergartner. Let's just say an experienced and credentialed teacher is out of her element with distant learning. It is no easy task. Now put yourself in a seasoned teacher's shoes, let's say 15, 20 plus years. Throw them a brand new virtual platform, Zoom, having to completely change their routine, lesson plans reinvented, and adopt a whole new way of teaching. To say our teachers and principals are overworked during this pandemic is an understatement. I have the opportunity to see and hear 3 different virtual classrooms each day, and am blown away by the amount of passion, high energy, virtual creativity, and love presented to my children each and every day despite of the circumstances. These teachers are showing up even under such crummy times, and our kids don't even know the hours of planning, the late night grading and emailing and prepping, and let's be honest, the tears that are shed behind the scene. But an experienced teacher like myself, listening from the sidelines, definitely does. There's no doubt that we want to be back in the classrooms, but the real concern lies with the expectations once we do. How can a teacher be asked to teach live in person to one half of the class while teaching virtually to the other half at home? Do you know that it takes each teacher at least 2 hours to get Canvas ready just for the next day? The amount of work that each teacher is doing is more than one person can handle. It is absolutely asinine. I have family members who are teachers here in the district, and I also have teachers who have become like family. I know the teachers here at Glendora Unified School District are some of the most highly qualified groups of teachers. They have a reputation like no other. They are the backbone of this district and are what make GUSD so unique. My husband and I chose this school district for our kids because of it. But more importantly, our teachers love what they do, and it's reflected in their teaching every day. As much as I am begging for my kids to get back in the classroom, it is becoming problematic, no doubt, learning from home. But that is beside the point. I cannot have my children back in the desired classrooms with their teachers being asked of such ridiculous requirements. Isn't our goal here in Glendora to provide a quality education to our kids, not just to make sure the board and superintendent look good because of the teachers trying to juggle it all while upholding our district's reputation? Our district will continue to go downhill, and sadly it has since July. If they start walking, there's going to be a very large group that follows, and we are already losing families weekly to neighboring private schools. You all need to start listening to what the teachers and principals are requesting. Our kids need their teachers.
Thank you very much for your comment, Mrs. Tarzia. As stated on the agenda and in board policy, that there is a total time of 20 minutes on each agenda or non-agenda item. We have hit the 20-minute mark on this topic based on the comment regarding section of these comment cards. Therefore, I would ask that any additional cards that have been submitted, the people who have submitted them to please email the comments to the bmpc@glendora.k12.ca.us email, and you will get a response directly from the appropriate staff member. Again, any additional speaker cards that I have here under parent or teacher concerns are limited by that 20-minute allotment and will have to be submitted through email, bmpc@glendora.k12.ca.us. We're now going to move along to the discussion action items portion of our meeting. Number 1, approval of the AB 1200 public disclosure of a one-time compensation for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Do I have a motion?
Moved. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ellenson and Dr. Fernando. Dr. DeLeon, I'm looking for, oh, there he is. Here comes Mr. Shaldu through the back door. Thank you.
Mr. Shaldu, would you please present the AB 1200 at this point?
Of course, good evening. The item I have tonight is the approval of the AB 1200, which is a public disclosure document for compensation for employees. For work that has been provided to assist with professional development, training, support of distance learning during COVID-19, the district is offering a 0.5% one-time off-schedule payment. As part of the AB 1200 disclosure document, we report this information and all the financial associated reports to the LA County Office of Education for review and also for approval. So at this point, the county has received the document, has provided us with an approval letter in order to move forward with the compensation increase of one-time off-schedule payment. The estimated budget impact of the proposed one-time payment is $269,600, $269,600, and it should be paid from the Learning Loss Mitigation State General Fund. So with that being said, it's recommended the Board of Education adopt the attached AB 1200 and direct staff to adjust the appropriate account codes and update the district budget.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shaldu. In layman's terms, what are we doing right now, please?
Yeah, so we're providing our employees with a 0.5% one-time off-schedule payment.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else have any additional comments or questions regarding AB 1200? Ms. Bork?
My only comment is not about the AB 1200, but I have lots of things I'd like to say, Mark. I appreciate your work with me over the last 3 years. I appreciate everything you've done for the district. I want to wish you well in your new appointment in Covina, and they're getting a good man. Thank you.
Mrs. Merkley?
Mark, you're leaving. Break my heart. We worked on the Bond Oversight Committee. I've known you a long time. Thank you for all you've done for the district. Really do appreciate it. I'm going to miss you. And as far as the raise, I wish it could be more. I'm excited that we're able to give the teachers anything at all, but thank you.
Dr. Fernando?
I think this 0.5 raise, although we would love it to be more, does speak to some of the concerns that have been raised tonight about the workload that has been placed on teachers all across the country, not just in Glendora. And I want to wish you well in your new role, and hope that you find what you're looking for.
Mr. Ellenson?
Thank you. I'm happy to have moved this item and intend to be voting in support of it to give something to show our gratitude and recognition of teachers. I know GTA leadership has had a seat at the table from the very beginning of this school year, helping to plan everything that's happening. And the thing that GTA has pushed us for over and over again is whatever you can do to show gratitude and appreciation for teachers will go a long way. And so for district admin to be creative and pull funds together from different sources, our general fund is already running at a deficit, as you know better than anybody, Mr. Shaldo. For you to help in finding funds where necessary is very helpful and enabled us to do this. So thank you for enabling that to happen and for your work in that. More importantly, thank you for all of your work in Glendora Unified over all these years. I appreciate you more than you know. I'm going to miss you more than anybody. But we'll never forget the legacy you're leaving behind here and the good work you did to keep this district fiscally solvent over challenging times. I remember 7 years of them, and you got 10, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you for bringing AB 1200 before the board this evening. It is with pleasure that I expect that it will pass unanimously. As my colleagues have said, the 0.5% is a small token of our appreciation to all the staff, not just the teachers, but the classified staff as well. We really appreciate all the hard work that this school year has been for everyone. And also to you, Mr. Shaldo, who I've had the pleasure of working with through the course of Glendora Education Foundation, and then the Measure GG campaign. Although we learned a lot, it wasn't necessarily the most pleasant experience for us. And then as a board member, I do just want to say that your contribution to this school district has been considerable. We really do appreciate everything that you've done over the last 10 years. And I personally wish you the very best in moving forward and reaching your own professional and personal goals. So thank you for everything. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
I'll now ask for a vote on this discussion action item. All those in favor of approval of AB 1200, public disclosure of a one-time compensation for the 2020-2021 fiscal year?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to discussion/action item number 2, approval of the 2021 one-time off-scheduled 0.5% increase for all current GUSD employees that were employed on or before September 1st, 2020. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ellenson and Mrs. Merkley. Dr. DeGrazia.
That is a mouthful, isn't it, President Reuter? President Reuter, members of the board, Dr. De Leon, distinguished guests, my pleasure to bring forward this item to cement what Mr. Shaldu just referenced in the AB 1200, the one-time off-schedule 0.5% increase for all current employees that were employed on or before September 1st, 2020. We bring forward this request as a small token of our appreciation and dedication of our staff as they prepared for distance learning, continue to prepare for hybrid, and all the work that they put in the summer, in the weekends, after hours, and that they continue to do each and every day. So we appreciate their work, and we bring this forward for your recommendation and ratification this evening as that token of our appreciation to them.
Thank you, Dr. DeGrazia. Any questions or comments from the board? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Yes, happy to do so. Number 3, announce the Board of Education's intention to appoint Dr. Edward L. Potter, as its representative to the Personnel Commission. No action will be taken, but I'll ask Dr. DeGrazia to provide some context for this.
Thank you, President Reuter. This is for information only, as you suggest. Every year, we appoint or reappoint a member of the Personnel Commission. It is a 3-member commission. It is the time in this year to reappoint or appoint the board's representative of the commission. Dr. Potter is ready, willing, and able. He has served 3 outstanding terms for the past 9+ years and is willing to serve in an additional 3-year term. So this is a meeting we bring forward his name and your intent to appoint him or reappoint him to another term. At the next meeting in December, we'll bring his name forward again for finalization and a public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. DeGrazia. On to action item number 4, board policy revision / community relations first reading. May I have a motion?
Did we vote on item 3?
We are not supposed to vote on item 3. There was no action taken. They will bring it forward for action at the December meeting. Dr. Fernando, motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Merkley. Dr. Kelson.
Good evening, and thank you for considering this first reading of Administrative Regulations 1325. For your consideration, we would like to suggest that this proposed additional language has the potential to extend opportunities for posting and distributing promotional and informational materials. It includes provisions for the City of Glendora and other longtime community partners that also align with federal and state guidelines required of governmental agencies. Are there any other questions on these proposed changes to the administrative regulations at this time?
Any comments or questions from the member of the board? Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Kelson. All those in favor? Aye. Excuse me, any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Okay, on to item number 5. Approve the extension of the online curriculum provider as presented. May I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Fernando and Mr. Ellenson. Dr. De Leon?
Yes, so thank you very much. At this time, this is related to GOAL. As you all know, GOAL, we have Edgenuity. And in the beginning, when we purchased it for elementary, we weren't sure whether we were going to want to keep it because we had some teachers who thought maybe they might write their own at the time. Since then, we have piloted it, and it is a determination of GOAL that they would like us to continue it, is, I guess, how to say it. Dr. Kelson, do you have any other information about that, or is it the GOAL teachers who would like to continue it, or yes?
Yes,
so,
the secondary curriculum has been purchased for the entire year. The K-5 curriculum is the one that the teachers would like to extend.
So we are bringing Edgenuity to be extended for one semester for the end of the year.
Okay. Any questions or comments from members of the board?
Well, again, this is one that I'm looking forward to supporting because I think it responds to some of the concerns we heard from staff. I remember hearing from some teachers that the Edgenuity, although it would have been nice to write some curriculum for the K through 5 for the second semester, it just wasn't feasible under the circumstances, and we're clearly going to need it. So to respond to those concerns and to be able to provide the support for them to the end of the year, I'm pleased to do so.
Any other questions or comments? I just want to make sure that I'm understanding you correctly. We were committed to the Edgenuity platform for the entire year for goal. What we weren't sure of was whether we were going to purchase the additional curriculum to put into the platform or write our own curriculum for the K-5. And if I'm understanding correctly, we would like to purchase the curriculum to be put into the platform rather than write our own curriculum. So we had planned on goal for the entire year. We had planned on Edgenuity for the entire year. It was just allowing teachers K-5 to get the feel of it, understand what was going on, and then make a decision after the first semester.
Yes.
Have I summed that up correctly?
May I add one important part?
Please.
The online curriculum available for elementary school students is not as vast as that for secondary students.
Okay.
So our teachers are very interested in helping us develop curriculum when time allows. Hence the waiting until mid-semester to be able to make that decision.
Okay, so I'm sorry. If I understand you correctly, then say moving forward next year with the goal program, the K-5 teachers have expressed interest in writing their own curriculum. At that point in time, it's just not feasible as far as time is concerned right now, so they would like the additional assistance of the Edgenuity curriculum dropped into the goal platform for them.
That's correct. And,
Okay.
And teachers are beginning that project this spring. So that
They're
we have it
beginning to write the
developed.
curriculum for next year
As an option.
this spring.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I understand that we chose goal as an option and the platform in the fall, so they didn't have that time, and now we're offering them that time for next school year. Thank you for all the clarification. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Now we move on to the consent items part of the agenda. Before asking for a blanket motion for all consent items, I will ask if there are any individual consent items that a board member would like to pull out for discussion. Hearing none, may I please have a motion to approve, a blanket motion to approve all consent items?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Fernando. Thank you, Dr. Fernando and Mr. Ellenson. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All consent items are unanimously approved 5-0. We now come to the portion of the board meeting where I would like to ask for comments from members of the Board of Education. Vice President Borg, you're up.
Thank you very much. I have several things to say, and just to start off with, so the public and the faculty and staff of Glendora Unified know my background a little bit more. I've lived in this town since 1978, raised 3 children, all going through GUSD school. I have 4 grandchildren that have 2 currently in the district and 2 that moved out of the state for parents' employment. 40 years in education, a bachelor's, a master's, an administrative credential, and a love of children. And I'd just like to talk a little bit about some history here. October 2019, the retirement of 2 district administrators as of June 30th, 2020. Michelle Hunter, Assistant Sup of Ed Services, and Dr. Rob Vors, the Superintendent. In March of 2020, the board began the process of hiring a new superintendent with approximately 100 applications turned in. It was screened down to 37, and the board read all 37 applications and had 7 candidates for in-person interviews. Dr. De Leon rose above the others in qualifications, experience by the Board of Ed, and was just what this Board of Education was looking for. March 13th, 2020, pandemic causes schools to close and begin distance learning. Mandated by the governor, LA County Department of Public Health, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond. Long existing problems in the district seemed to float to the surface. Teachers needed additional training for distance learning, lack of devices for all students, lack of student training on devices, multiple different devices being used in homes, lack of teacher long-term training, lack of online curriculum, and I'm sure there's more. Teachers forced to create curriculum in a very short time. 400 teachers and no 2 did the same thing. Social emotional effects on students, social emotional effects on staff. Would August bring a return to schools? Didn't seem that way. So April, we had the announcement of a new superintendent, came with impeccable credentials and recommendations, and most importantly, met the criteria the Board of Education was looking for in order to bring this district into the current millennium. On May 25th, we had a terrible incident in our nation, one of many, the murder of George Floyd. 300 students share the need for support to help promote inclusion, respect, and appreciation for all students, as there is a need in this district. Our new superintendent, by the way, was not on the job yet when this happened. This document was signed by Dr. Vors, Dr. De Leon, and 5 members of the Board of Education. Meanwhile, GUSD is getting by with distance learning. Social aspects of schools are canceled, traditions involving groups were halted, and summer began. Work for returning to school should have been in full swing. And again, this is May. No new superintendent yet. June 2020, Dr. De Leon donates her time when she could to help with the transition. Still employed in Oxnard and closing schools up there, she came and donated her time until the board offered to pay a stipend for her to give that time to us. June 30th, 2020, Michelle and Rob have their last day. July 1st, 6 weeks until the original start of the school. Same issues that we faced in March of 2019. I don't need to repeat them. School opening postponed 2 weeks on the request of our new superintendent because there were too many items that couldn't be dealt with in 6 weeks. We had much to accomplish. Example, devices and inventory. Survey to parents, counts wrong, not enough devices available. We were 2,000 short, days before school starts. Of course, the families are upset. Of course, the district is upset. Site leadership was tasked with making calls to families to find out if they needed devices. We always want to put students first. Under the direction of the Board of Education, our new superintendent was tasked to hire a superintendent of educational services and assemble many committees made up of constituents. These committees include Learning Resource Committee, or the LRC, with approximately 10 subcommittees. All the members of these committees included staff, teachers, admin, parents, and students were appropriate. Safety, logistics, returning to school are 3 of those committees. Our superintendent had a community council committee. She did not start the RISE committee. That was started by the previous administration, but was trying to carry it on. Race, inclusion, social justice, equity. We had a parent advisory council made up of ELAC, PTA. Student advisory council at all 3 levels. Students from schools were invited to have conversations and share experiences with the superintendent from elementary, middle, and high school. We've had more grants in the last 6 months than I've seen in the past 3 years. Change is challenging and a growth opportunity. I would ask for that opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Borg. Mrs. Merkley.
You know, I've always felt like I've represented the parents. I've been involved in PTA. I was a teacher, but I am a mother of 5 who went through Glendora schools. I feel for the parents. When my middle daughter started Goddard, her first day she came home and she kind of slid down the wall and said, "Mom, please don't make me go back. Homeschool me." And I panicked. Kimmy and I were close, but we butt heads. And the thought of homeschooling her struck fear into my heart. If I'm honest, she's smarter than I am too. I had a really good parenting moment. I was like, okay, let's revisit this in a month. And if you're not happy in a month, I will do it. Thank goodness she loved Goddard after that, and I didn't have to. But the point was, I had a choice, and it would have only been one child, not all 5 of them. And so I feel for parents. I know, I just know that this has to be so hard. I know some parents are doing well, but some parents don't have that gift of teaching, or they don't want to teach. This patience. And so we are giving you grace. I know that it's hard, and we feel your pain and that you want these kids back in school. The teachers, we want them back in school as well. But we can't do it safely right now. You have to realize that. We have your children's interests at heart. We are not sitting up here going, no, we don't want these kids back. We want them back. The teachers want them back, but they want to be safe. And I know, I realize, as I said earlier, the teachers are working so hard. I've talked to them. I see that it takes longer to prepare, and there are fears and concerns about coming back, about doing hybrid. I know that. We are all working together, and as we've talked about the Learning Redesign Coalition, getting the teachers involved and making sure that we are addressing their needs as well. We want them to be safe. They don't want to get sick either. And then the administration, all the principals, everyone is working hard. And we would ask that you would give us grace, give us time. I feel like Dr. De Leon has become a scapegoat. You are unhappy with the way things are going, and it's easy to blame her because she's new and you don't know her, you haven't met her, and you don't have a personal relationship with her. Give her grace. Let it be for a little bit. And that is what I have to say. Also, happy Thanksgiving, that we have many things to be grateful for. And I hope that as we focus on what we are grateful for, that we will be calmer and feel good about the things that are going on.
Thank you, Mrs. Merkley. Dr. Fernando.
First of all, as we just finished a very, very big national event last week, it does give me pause and does give me gratitude that we live in a society where people are able to express their views freely and openly, even if those views are, very divergent from other views. So I think that's first thing that I would like to say. In addition to that, I think this is probably one of the most difficult times to be an educational leader. The expectations from different constituencies is often one of frustration, one that lacks realism, one that is full of impatience, because all of us are what is called in a space called a liminal space. A liminal space is a time where we are between two situations, two finite situations. And since March 2020, our community, our country, our school district has been in a liminal space. And when you're in a liminal space, it causes you to feel stress, to feel anxious, to have needs. And we are just in a place of liminality. And I think that is something that I think all of us are trying to navigate and work through. So with that, as I hear the comments from the public, as I hear supposed comments from teachers, because I'm not sure as how those comments fully represent the nature of the teachers in the various sites that we've heard, I think that we are going to continue to work on communication. We're going to continue to work on teacher development. We're going to continue to work on ways that we can engage both students and parents and staff in this time of liminality. And with that comment, I would also like to thank the many people in this room that are working tirelessly that was not even mentioned by any members of the public today. So I want to thank the work of Dr. DeGrazia there at the back, Dr. Summers, Dr. Kelson, of course, Dr. De Leon. The tireless work that you are doing, often first receiving negativity as opposed to thanks, I think is a sign of your commitment first to the end goal, and that is to develop a positive educational experience in the midst of this unprecedented times. So please be encouraged that the board understands the dynamic that you are in, understands the challenging navigation that you're experiencing with both parents, students, and staff, and that we will work together to continue to improve as a district in the midst of this liminality. I also want to remind people that I myself have taken a new position at leadership at an educational institution in the midst of a virtual environment. It is a very big challenge, and I was an employee at this institution. So I can only imagine the challenges that Dr. De Leon has had to face being a new employee at a new district and a superintendent in a virtual environment. So I want to remind the members of the public, members of staff, parents, and students as to the challenges that she experienced walking into this role, which, by the way, she's extremely qualified for. So I want to remind us of where we are and that at some point in time we will move out of this. But I do believe also, in light of comments that were earlier made, we are actually becoming a better district because of this, in terms of our competency and engagement with technology and multimodality learning opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fernando. Mr. Ellenson.
Thank you. Tonight's board meeting was really nice to have the principals here from the 5 elementary schools and to hear their suggestions and recommendations on a return to school, because it felt like, as Dr. Fernando said, in this year that is in between, it gave us something to look forward to the idea of students being back in class, even just being able to give our Red Ribbon Week students their certificates. I'm desperately looking for these moments of optimism that we can look forward to better times. On the board agenda tonight, to be able to give our teachers a one-time 0.5% was a nice thing to do. GTA pushed us for, you have to give us something to encourage us and motivate us. Board agreed, and Dr. De Leon found funds from various areas in our general fund to make that happen. To be able to recognize our teachers in person was a wonderful thing to be able to do, to extend the Edgenuity software, a direct response from what we've heard from our teachers. We were happy to do that. Hearing Dr. De Leon, Dr. Kelson, Mr. Lopez, their suggestions for how we can take our special ed department and make it even better. Creative solutions that we can better serve our students, better support our special ed staff. Incredibly important work that I'm really looking forward to seeing happen. There are so many instances when we're talking, and it's something else that is on our to-do list of maybe when things get back to normal, because right now everyone has all hands on deck when it comes to preparing for return to school, supporting staff during virtual learning. But I look forward to all of the things that we can accomplish together. I hear the concerns of the teachers that spoke tonight, and I want to hear from our teachers. I value their input, but I ask them to please come to us with a perspective of working together. The board wants to work together with everyone in this organization and our parents and our community members to come together as one community. Like Mrs. Borg said, this has been my community for a very long time. I was born and raised here and went to school here, and I love these schools, these teachers, this community as much as anyone. I want to see us be welcoming, accepting, supportive, collaborative. I want us to all be on the same page because I do believe we all have the same goals at the end of the day. I pledge to do my part as a board member and work with my colleagues to move that forward the best that I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellenson. My comments for this evening are going to be somewhat procedural as the comments that I have provided throughout the course of this board meeting. I really do appreciate the folks that came tonight and expressed concerns, and I listened to them very carefully. But we have a process and a procedure as a board, and as the president, it's my responsibility for this year the process as far as our employee, Dr. De Leon, is concerned, is one of a professional evaluation. So as we take this information and we see the accomplishments that Dr. De Leon has had throughout the course of the year, and we listen to some of the concerns from our community and from some of our teachers about some of the things that they are concerned about or hearing, we will take all of this information, we will put it together as a board, which is our responsibility to do, and we will give Dr. De Leon a professional evaluation at the end of her first year. I will mention that the district decided as a whole this year that because of the challenges of the COVID learning environment and distance learning, etc., that we would not be evaluating our teachers this year. That this is an unprecedented year where there was going to be some hiccups and there is going to be some problems. And one day you're going to do it really well, and one day you're really not going to do it well at all. And we are going to give you all, everybody, grace in that, in this very challenging time that we find ourselves in. However, this board is still going to evaluate Dr. De Leon this year. She will not get a pass from the evaluation process, and we will follow the process. That's the logistics of what will happen. 2020 seems to be a very challenging year for a lot of folks, where people believe that you can just cancel someone if you do not like the way things are going. You can put things on the internet and you can just cancel it. We will not cancel Dr. De Leon. We will follow the process. We will go through the procedures. We will give her the opportunity to develop if there are areas of development that we as a board see as important improvements that need to be made. As I suggested earlier, we are not going to open the schools illegally. We believe in process, we believe in procedure, we believe in following the rules, and we will do that as far as our employee, Dr. De Leon, is concerned. I again will express the gratitude to her and her staff, everybody that has worked very hard up until this point. Have there been challenges? Of course there have been challenges. There is no rule book. There is no playbook for what we've got going on right now. We will support all of our teachers. We will support all of our administrators. We will support all of our staff, and we will support our superintendent. With that, I will please ask, I've got my notes, for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Was that you, Dr. Fernando? Okay, you said it so fast. Mrs. Borg, seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, we will adjourn at 9:55 p.m.